Hi everybody, it's Julia, your trusted travel expert, coming to you for another Travel Talk Tuesday, coming to you live from my little office in Hickory. I wanted to take a little break inspired by St. Patrick's Day from Paris. I've talked about Paris for the last several weeks, and I will return to France and continue talking about France, but I just wanted to take a quick inspired detour over to Ireland because I'm finally getting some of my blogs published from my trip in November, and it's such a great country that it's definitely worth talking about, especially when we're all sort of thinking about the Irish after hopefully you had a great St. Patrick's Day celebration this weekend. So as always, if you're watching the recording, feel free to still comment with any questions. And I will get back to you as soon as I can. I went back and watched the video that I did back when I was in Ireland, and I realized that it was much more sort of a historical overview of the country, and because I was so immersed in it then, and I didn't really talk about general itineraries. I talked a little bit about the different areas, but mostly I wanted to talk about itineraries. And because it's an island, most of the time there's some sort of loop that happens. Depending how much time you have depends on how far you can go. But typically you start and end, or generally, you start and end in Dublin, you go down to Waterford, you go over to Blarney, you spend time at the Ring of Kerry, you go up to like either Limerick or Galway, and then you either cross back over to Dublin, or if you have more time, you go up north to Derry and the Antrim coast and Belfast before you finish back up in Dublin. And that is a good overview. I mean, it is an island, so doing a loop does make sense. But oh, hi Liz, just got back from Ireland. I hope that you had a great trip. But what you do in Ireland really depends so much on what you're interested in, because it's such a small little island and it has so much going for it. It has so many different things for so many different interests. Speaking of, my friend Liz is watching, and she came on the pilgrimage I did through France, and a pilgrimage through Ireland would be a wonderful idea because there are, of course, very important abbeys and monasteries. You can even do the St. Patrick pilgrimage. You can climb Crow Patrick, which, like Mount Patrick or whatever, where he drove the snakes out of Ireland. That's on Reek Sunday, which is in late July, I believe. And that's a really fascinating thing to do. If you're into hiking and walking in general, there are treks galore all over the country. If you're interested in, just the people, because that's part of what is so charming and wonderful about Ireland, is how fun and fabulous the people are. Then you could probably stick to kind of that main track and go to some of these cute towns that have, just great pubs, great live music, great storytellers. I know the Southwest, I only spent about 3 or 4 nights in the Southwest, and I could go back for a week just in the Southwest, just in the kind of Ring of Kerry, the Dingle Peninsula, and that sort of area, the very southwest part of the island. That's super rugged, super hilly, beautiful, beautiful scenery, lots of great walks, lots of great cute towns with colorful houses, fun pubs, lots of live music always. I really, really loved that area. And so you could easily fly into Shannon, which again is on the west side of the country. It's the international airport on the west, so you don't have to fly in and out of Dublin. So you could fly in and out of Shannon, which is a really tiny, adorable, convenient airport. And you could just spend a week going down the Wild Atlantic Way, down to the Ring of Kerry, go in the opposite direction of all the tour buses that do it every single day in one direction. If you go the opposite direction, you miss all those tour buses. Spend some time in Dingle, go fishing, go see where Star Wars was filmed. That's another really big draw for Ireland, is it's a really attractive filming location, I think because of tax purposes. So not only were the last 2 Star Wars filmed partially in Ireland, Also, of course, Game of Thrones, which is a huge draw. That is filmed primarily in Belfast and in Northern Ireland, and that's awesome. I mean, you could easily go and just spend a week going to all the different Game of Thrones filming sites. I tried to squeeze in as many as I could in a day, and that was not enough. I missed several, and the reason they film so many places, or so many movies decide to film in Ireland, is because it's just so stinking beautiful. I mean, I thought that, like I said, the Ring of Kerry was, and the Dingle Peninsula, those two kind of peninsulas were so beautiful and stunning. And then I made it up north to the Antrim coast, where they film a lot of the Game of Thrones stuff, and that was stunning in its own way, and its own different way. So, and then you could also, if you're a history buff, you could go and just focus really on Belfast and Dublin and focus on the history. You would want to get out into the countryside to see, learn about, the peasants and the famine, and learn kind of how they lived and the struggles they went through. But Belfast and Dublin are two really cool cities that offer a ton for history buffs to learn about. Derry would be another one that I thought was really historically interesting, just because Derry was such a pivotal city in the Troubles, and it was such a strong stronghold of England's plantation system. And so that's another really historically interesting. I mean, the whole freaking island is really historically interesting. I'm not even talking about any of the prehistoric stuff, because I didn't even get to it. But in north of Dublin, there's all kinds of amazing druid type burial formations. There's the Hill of Tara, which is the traditional hill where the kings, chieftains of Ireland reigned from. And that's all really, you could do it for a long day trip out of Dublin, or spend the night in Trim, which is a cute town, and explore all of that prehistoric Irish history. So that's the thing with Ireland, is that, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. But that's the great thing I think about Ireland, is even though it's such a small place, it offers so many different things for so many different people. I mean, if you were just interested in music, you could just focus on, the pubs of, Dublin, Belfast, and Killarney in Galway. And Dingle. Or no, there's another town. I'm forgetting the name of the town, but there's another town that's known for impromptu live music, and musicians go there for forever. So depending on what your interests are is why you should really tailor your trip to Ireland to suit what you want to do. I mean, the reason why so many tours do the same kind of loop is because that is the most popular stuff to do. I mean, seeing Waterford Crystal and seeing where that is built, and kissing the Blarney Stone, these are sort of iconic things that a lot of people want to see and do. But if you don't really care about Crystal, or you don't really care about some rock in a castle, because they're much prettier castles apparently, then you can skip those things and not do the same thing that everybody else does. So I just want to kind of let you know that, and this is the other thing about Ireland, is that yes, there are really nice escorted bus trips that you can take, but it's such an easy country to get around, partly because they speak English, but even though they drive on the wrong side of the road, it's a very easy country to drive through. So there are lots of really great self-drive itineraries that you could build it yourself and stay at B&Bs or stay at manor houses and farmhouses and get out in the countryside and really explore. And it's it's such an easy country to do that in. So if you're talking about your ideal itinerary to Ireland, I would hope that it wouldn't be 4 days in Dublin and 2 days in Belfast and that's it. Because you really are limiting yourself from all of the countryside and all of the joys and pleasures that it brings. So I hope that's given you some ideas. I mean, I talked about a pilgrimage, I talked about a music lover's fan, I've talked about a movie lover's trip, I've talked about just a nature lover's trip, or even just going and seeing the people, meeting the people, going to farms, and like I said, just there's so many different fun things to do. The one thing that maybe Ireland's not great for, and it's really even hard to say this, but if you're a big art lover, there's not a ton of, like painting art, I guess, to see. There's not a ton of like museums to see great artists at work. But for everything else, it's just really spectacular. If you have any questions, obviously let me know. I will be posting blogs this week and next to kind of further explore and explain some of the places that I really loved when I went. So stay tuned for those. And yeah, let me know if I can help, and let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to keep it short this week because, like I said, I'm recovering from a cold and I'm starting to run out of air. So it might be time for me to hit the hay again. But I really love the Emerald Isle. I think it's a wonderful place. I feel ridiculous that it took me 40 years to get there. And so don't let that happen to you. Make sure you plan your trip. It's a place that you should spend more than a week at, but if you only had a week, you could fill that up, no problem, and have a great time. And it's pretty close from the East Coast. So that's it for this week, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.